I'm Neil Nixon, and we're at NAB Show New York at the Jacob Javits Exhibition Center in New York City. I'm joined this morning by Tim Sewell, who is CEO of Yospace. Tim, thanks very much for joining me. Tim, you've been developing technologies for the ad insertion market for a number of years, but I sense there's been a breakthrough more recently. Can you give us a bit of an update on where we are?
Yeah, so I think for a couple of years there was a debate around whether the correct approach for ad insertion was to do that in the client or to do it server side. So the traditional VOD approach was always to do that via the client, and some of the early solutions for live streaming adopted a client-side approach. We've always advocated doing the ad insertion server side because it delivers a far more seamless user experience, and in the context of live it allows you to be genuinely frame accurate, so you can deliver a true TV experience. And I guess the good news for us is it seems to now be widely accepted in the industry that server side is the correct way to go. And in the last 12 months we've seen full service launches with 20 or so broadcasters, including Sky, BT Sport and ITV in the UK. So it feels like the space is really coming of age, and we seem to be gaining significant traction.
Excellent. And is this a global phenomenon? You named a few customers there that are UK based, but is this something that's applicable all across the world?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. So we've got customers in North America, Latin America, Australia, mainland Europe. So it seems to be pretty widespread adoption. And what often happens is initially programmers might launch with a single platform, so they may target iOS as the first device platform, and then that rolls out across their sort of estate of devices that they support. So it's pretty consistent in all territories that we're seeing the adoption.
And how does the technology benefit your customers, i.e. the broadcasters, and then their customers, i.e. the viewers?
Yeah. So I guess the first thing is we're unlocking inventory that previously wasn't available and therefore wasn't being monetized. So with the average viewing times that we see across our services, we estimate we unlock around 12 new ad opportunities for each person connecting to a program of streams. So when you scale that up at significant volume around major sports events, it's making a significant contribution to sort of the digital ad revenues. And as I say, it genuinely is new incremental revenue that wasn't previously available.
And is this the holy grail of monetization for content owners? Is this the best way of establishing a revenue stream?
I would say it is, yes. Yeah, I mean, the alternative, if you look at live, the alternative is pre-roll running before a user starts viewing the stream. And there's a number of issues with that. Firstly, it's a pretty unpleasant experience for the end user, because you might get a couple of minutes of pre-roll and then potentially come into a live stream in the middle of an ad break, so you'll cut off part of the break and then perhaps have to watch another 2 minutes of advertising.
Yep.
When you're doing ad insertion into live, potentially you can have no pre-roll because you have other monetization opportunities, or perhaps only a very short pre-roll. And then for the end user, it is just like watching TV. So it doesn't necessarily make the most compelling demonstration at a trade show because you're just showing TV with ads in. The difference is that every single viewer is getting an ad decision specific to them, so the relevance of the advertising is far higher. And therefore the view-through rates that we typically see are well above 95%. So in terms of audience engagement, it's a far more TV-like experience than you would get from the more traditional approaches for advertising.
Absolutely. I know you did touch on this in one of your answers just now, but in terms of the multi-screen experience, how does it translate into somebody using a multitude of devices?
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, I was just wondering, how it translates from one device to another, the technology. Does it work equally well across all devices?
Yes, it's completely seamless across all platforms. So providing the platforms support the correct video protocols, and obviously typically those are HLS or Dash, then the solution in terms of user experience, it's identical across all platforms. And from an implementation point of view, having completed the initial integration with automation systems so that you have the signaling for the ad breaks to roll out across other platforms is a pretty straightforward integration.
Okay. So I think just to wrap up, I mean, you've been patient, in terms of your development cycle for this technology. Where do you see its potential and how will it evolve into the future, do you think?
So I think the first thing is there are still a lot of markets that are relatively early in terms of adoption. So we've got a further 3 services that are launching next week, actually, in mainland Europe. So firstly, I think there's huge potential just in terms of adoption from a wider number of broadcasters. But then essentially what we're doing is we're personalising streams, we're manipulating streams for each user. So there's a lot more than just advertising that you can do with that. So there's the concept of creating personalised simulated live streams, so very relevant content that's curated for an individual user, mixed in with genuine live content. So there's a lot more that can be done with personalisation and recommendation, making use of the same technologies.
So even given where we are at the moment, technology-wise, there's still a huge potential even without developing the technology yet further.
I would say so, yes. Yeah. So there's obviously more work to do on support for Dash and so on. So there is technical development that's needed, but there is just a lot of potential in terms of leveraging fully the capabilities. And I guess the other thing we're seeing is that a lot of the customers who've adopted us for live simulcast, because they had a more legacy approach for VOD that was fit for purpose, are now looking at what we're doing in live and realizing that that's actually a far more compelling approach for VOD as well, both because the user experience is better, but also with the rise of ad blockers. Whilst server-side insertion isn't a panacea to solve ad blocking, it is a fairly significant component in addressing that issue of ad blockers.
Excellent. Tim, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.